Well, Ada, again, thank you so much for that, and thank you, wherever you are, for joining me on this recording. And what I'm going to do is a whole host of things to make this a very exciting recording for you to watch. So let's begin with how I started all of this. That is how I started to link with APPA, aside from the fact that we do have some APPA members who are already B1G1. So when I was preparing this presentation, I went to look for APPA and I found all these different things. You can see some of them there, the American Probation and Parole. So no, that's not you, that's not you. And then finally, I found you. There you are, right? Right there. And the thing that I loved about that APPA logo is that it talks about create, promote, and engage. Because interesting enough, those are three of the words that we're going to be using as we go through our time together today. Where I want us to go to is this concept of story. It's important that you understand that every single one of us has a story. And I'm going to suggest to you that it might be time to modify that story just a little bit. Let's talk about why. We all do have a story. And we all have some form of history, obviously, which influences that story. But as I was saying just a moment ago, I'm sure it's now time for a future story. And our time together today is not about demonstrating B1G1 to you, although we will be doing that later on. It's to show you how we can use that to co-create an important future story for you. And there you go. It's welcome to a new story for your business. And it turns out that it's a very powerful story, as you'll see in a moment. But right up front, I want to say thank you for joining me and for taking that choice to join me. I know there's all sorts of other things you could be doing, but importantly, taking the choice to be with me for this is, I think, going to be very important for you, because hopefully what it's going to be is one of those moments that you look back on and say, gosh, I'm so glad I spent some time with Paul and with the others watching this and getting involved in this particular presentation. And by the way, I would love to think of it as a conversation, but do please, rather than a presentation, but do please take some notes as you go through as well, so that you really can get additional value from all of the things we're going to be sharing together. This guy, Steve Jobs, is an important part of our time together today, because a little while ago he said this. He said the storyteller is the most powerful person in the world. And then he added to that this: the storyteller, and I'm going to suggest in a moment that that's you, the storyteller sets the vision, the values, and the agenda for an entire generation yet to come. Pretty powerful. Just ponder that for a moment. And to help you ponder it, let me talk about why we need the new story. On March 2020, when that thing called the pandemic hit us, and as we go from there to now, then lots of things have happened, obviously. But one of those is that the way that we create value, the way that we articulate and get paid for it, it really does has to change dramatically. And that's why we need a new story, because the world, your customers, the people they serve, the world has changed profoundly, and it's changed forever. And so that's one of the reasons why we're calling this a new story for your business. And it's really a very powerful story on 4 levels. First of all, it's a powerful story for you as the business owner. It's a powerful story for your team, for your business, and as you'll see, for our world. Let's talk about for you. It's a powerful story for you because when you take action on the choices that you'll have later on, then what we're going to be doing is adding significant purpose, significant meaning, if you will, to the things that you do in your business, so that you create and can go to bed each night, being very proud of the impact that you're creating. Talking about proud, you'll be proud too about the different level of engagement and connection that your team members have, both with you and the company mission, and indeed with their customers as a direct result. And obviously that flows through into profit and growth for the business as well. And as you'll see, it really does start to make a very great difference to our world, because you will become, when you implement this, a real force for good. Just imagine that in your business. We talked about purpose, and I want to stress this, that in the last 13 years, there's been a lot of work, and it's increasingly dramatically, to understand the powerful link. It's an incredibly powerful link between purpose and profit. And there's been this really interesting flip over for perhaps the last 5 years, where we now fully understand that purpose powers profit, not the other way around. And to illustrate that, it turns out that there's lots of reports, but it turns out that just a couple of weeks ago, one report came out that I want to share with you, and we'll put it on the links as well, that came out from the accounting firm Deloitte. Let me just show you a couple of numbers from that report. It's a pretty in-depth report. Well, you get some idea there when you see it. Let me just hide myself for a minute so you can see all of it. But there's lots of numbers on there. And we don't need to go through all of those numbers, but what we do need to understand is why that report is very important. And if you read across the top, in fact, let me make that easier for you. Here's what it says across the top. An integrated purpose strategy, one that's focused on the differentiated role you play in society, can provide you with a purpose premium, which drives long-term value and which creates competitive advantage. Now, with that in mind, as I said, there's lots of numbers there, but let me just focus on a couple. When you think about brand and reputation, 78% of people are more likely to remember you when you have a strong purpose. And that flows through into sales and innovation. Look at the number there, 39.5, nearly 40% price premium once you have that purpose stance, as it were. And when it comes to operational efficiency and attracting talent, you can see that nearly 8 out of 10 people indicated they prefer to work for you when you are purpose-driven. And interesting enough, when they work for you, some of them would say they'll change companies, if you will, to work at an environmentally responsible company as well. Now, those numbers are really, really important as to why purpose is driving profit. But I want to give you a more immediacy, if you will. Just 3 weeks ago, I think it was, a report came out from Columbia University, which for the very first time, now it's a very detailed report, and I can send you the whole report, but a very detailed report on what's happened during the pandemic. And there's all sorts of numbers. But this one I want to show you because it shows you how high purpose companies, and the TEV, by the way, in the top left-hand corner there stands for total enterprise value. Notice it's 5.6 times. That is, when you exit the business, because you're a high purpose company, then the value that people will pay you for as you exit is significantly more. So, once again, with that background, then we need to understand that what we're talking about today is this new story of purpose and impact. We are going to be talking about the impact on engagement and connection, although you've already seen some of that. We're going to take that deeper. We see the impact on profit and growth, and we're going to have a look at what happens when your business becomes a real force for good. So we've already had a look at purpose, profit, and growth. Let's have a look at these other things: impact, engagement, and connection. And to do that, I think there are two crucial questions that we need to answer. The first crucial question, as you can see down the bottom side of your screen right there, the left-hand side, is let me just press it there, is this one, I should say, called why, okay? And we're going to look at the why, and then we're going to have a look at the how. Well, why? When you look out there at some of the issues that are in the world, 3.5 billion people are still cooking on fossil fuels. When you look at on non-friendly fuels, if you will, you look at some 810 million people who are chronically hungry, I should say, and all of the other things that we're so aware of now. You could say it's a must. Now, there are more other eloquent ways of saying that. And there is an interesting question as this becomes more and more important. And it's a question posed by someone you'll meet later on. I'll introduce you to him later on, but here's the question. It's a very powerful question that I want you to kind of think about. Is the world more positive because your business is in it? Just think about that question for a moment. And then that takes us, as I said, there's eloquent ways of saying this. Here's one. This is Aviva Wittenberg. She's a major contributor on leadership and stuff for Forbes magazine. She said this recently: great companies leverage their skills and know-how for the greater good. They broaden the definition of what the company's core products and services do, and as a result, they create a much bigger purpose that's tangible and visible to the customers they seek to serve. And it's that last little piece there that's really, really important. Another way of describing what she is so interestingly saying is that what she's saying is it really is all about impact and creating that and then making it visible. So the question is how? How do we do that? Well, I want to suggest to you that the best way I know, and lots of other people as well, is to become a part of B1G1. And let's talk about why that is. Because as you'll see in a moment, B1G1 lets you and your team create multiple and very powerful stories that lift your impact, they lift your engagement, and they lift your connection to an entirely new level. Entirely new. And what that means is this, that you could actually say, imagine you were able to say this: every time you do business with us, meaning you, you make sure that something great happens in our world. Now, once you get to say that, there are all sorts of other things that kind of happen there. Let me just take me off there so that you can see it. And one of those things is that in B1G1, this is not about you proudly supporting, a charity. Sure, you can keep on doing that. There's all sorts of reasons why you might. But with B1G1, you can match your impacts, as you can see, to your client's interests. So for example, let's say you were dealing with some promotional products for, let's say, a hotel chain. Then you could make sure that your giving in that particular case, and I'll show you how you link it in a minute, is for education. So the purchasing or the officer or whoever receives all the information can say, oh my gosh, we got the goods, but look at what else happened. We created education for some kids somewhere. Or perhaps if it was, let's say, well, actually, when I think about it, a hotel probably would be better for shelter, wouldn't it? But if you were dealing with a computer company, then maybe education is an option. And there's all sorts of things, and you'll see all of that playing out in just a second. So you can match your impacts to your client's interests. And you don't just do it, you get those numbers. The system, B1G1, actually measures directly the impacts that you're making in real time. And you can share those impacts, as you'll see, in a very powerful way on your site. So again, increasing the connection as well. And interestingly, when you do this, there's a wonderful measurement system. It's called the Global Goals, sometimes called the Sustainable Development Goals, but Global Goals, I think, is the way that we prefer to describe it. 17 key targets, areas, 169 targets that we have to achieve by 2030. And I guess the good news is that in B1G1, automatically everything that you do is tracked back to those global goals, and you can see, as you will see in a minute, your impact on each and every one of those global goals as we move through. And so remember we said you could say something great happens? Well, let me give you some examples. You could say every time we send an email, meaning you send an email, a child in need gets access to an e-learning program that changes their life. Now the thing in the blue right there, that's up to you, and as is this thing in white. That's called like an activity. So you're getting the idea that you can match your activities to doing something great in our world, and you're in total control of that. So for example, when someone connects with you on LinkedIn, you could do this: help a farmer run their beekeeping business for an entire month. Or when we do a Zoom meeting, like we're doing right now, 18 homeless people get a nutritious meal. In fact, on this particular one, what's actually happening, just so that you know, just automatically, because you and I are here on Zoom, then 11 kids are getting access to game-changing and life-changing education, just because we're here on Zoom. And when we receive, or when you receive an order, you could choose to plant 11 forest trees, or at least make sure that 11 forest trees get planted. So what you're seeing, if you look at the left-hand side, is like a when this, and then the right-hand side is like a then this. So let's just have a look at this when this, then this in more detail. And the way we can do that is this. Imagine that you have joined B1G1. We're going to show you how you do that later on. And you are a business for good. Well, let's take a look at what happens. So you can use whatever activity or trigger you want. I'm going to show you, I've already shown you some of those, but you can use whatever you want. And then when you choose those triggers, you can link the trigger to up to 500 high impact vetted is crucial, vetted projects that literally do, and we check it, that they literally do, that is what they say they're doing. Okay, so we really do that. Look at this. No longer do you have to wait until quote unquote we're successful. You can do this from 1 cent. That's how historic B1G1 is, and that's a huge change in the way you could do things. This is also a huge change as well. When you do this in B1G1 fully, 100% of your giving goes. We even make up the credit card charges so that we can look you back in the eye and say, no, 100% went to those projects that you're supporting. And as you'll see in a minute, we track everything. This is not just, oh, we just did something. No. We're tracking it. And you'll see how that happens in just a moment. So pretty interesting. Oh, and by the way, as I said, it's all linked central to the SDGs or the global goals as well. So let me give you some examples of what those triggers might be. It could be when, as you can see on the left-hand side, someone buys your products, when someone visits your website, when someone does a repeat purchase, when someone pays on time, when you have to say sorry, when someone has a birthday, when you hit a target, when Zoom meeting, it could be whatever, including, as you can see down the bottom, you can even make it personal when your favorite team scores or when your 10-year-old cleans his room. Kids, by the way, really do get this. It is, as we say at the bottom of that, whatever you like, as many as you like, and you are in total control. And you're probably thinking, oh my God, that's probably very difficult. No, it's very, very easy as you will.
In fact, let's just change this up. Instead of waiting to see, why don't we have a look right now? So what I'm going to do is just go to my screen and we will show you just how easy this is. So take a look at this. You can see on the screen right there. I'm going to get out of the way right there. And we are going to make this go. So have a listen to this.
Hello, Lou, and everyone else. I just want to show you how easy this is. And here I am on one of my B1G1 accounts. You can see the total number of impacts I've made, the projects I've given to, my favorite SDGs. I didn't even know they were, but the system calculates that. I've got a lot of project updates here. And you can see all of my giving here way back since time immemorial. Right there, and I can get, of course, all of the details on that giving. But what I want to do right now is show you how you might create one of these giving stories. And so, not surprisingly, I'm going to click on that tab called Giving Stories. You can see I've got a whole host of them here anyway, but what we're going to do is just click right here and create a new giving story. And for this one, I'm not going to use anything that I've already got developed up in the boxes. I'm going to create a new activity, or if you will, a new trigger. Hopefully you can see that down here. And I've just got a little code in here so I can go in. There we go. When a new client orders our 2021 promo pack, and I can just save that if I wish to. And now what I'm going to do is find it. It'll be located down the bottom right here. There it is, right there. And all I'm going to do is drag that to the left-hand side. So now I've got a when this, if you will. Now what I'm going to do is go and find one of my favorite projects down here. The system automatically saves some of my favorites here. And there's one particular favorite that I want to do with this one, not the carbon offset one, not the medical care, not even to sponsor a bicycle, but this one coming up, I think, right here. Not that one, provide an e-learning hub for Aboriginal communities, but this one, not even the close for sex trafficking thing, but this one right here. I love this particular project. And there you can see, provide a day of digital training skills to Aboriginal communities. This is a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous project. And I might, well, then again, all B1G1 projects are that. And I might want to do, let's say, well, I don't know, let's do 3 of them. Let's do 5 of them. Today, or at least I'm setting up the giving story so that every time someone orders our promo pack, we do 5 of them. I can automatically do this every month if I wish to. But what I'm going to do right now is just create the giving story. So there's my giving story coming up. There it is, right at the top right here. And what I can do this manually or automatically, but all I need to do is say, well, how many of these did we get today or this week? Let's suppose we're doing giving this week. Well, let's say we had 11 of these this particular week. I can see the giving amount right there. And then all I need to do is add that to my giving cart. You'll see up there, I've already got 1 up there. So I'm just going to add it to the giving cart. That changes to 2. And what I can now do, surprise, surprise, is go have a look at my giving cart. And there it is, right there, together with all of the other ones that normally would be there. It tells me the total of the giving, and I can just proceed to give exactly like this. There we go. I can do it there with this particular APPA card. And just give it, and then I'll get a lovely receipt, as you'll see in a minute. There it is. And of course, what I can also do is take a little, there you go, it told me up there. I can take a screenshot of this, for example, to send to a client or whatever.
But what I want to do is more than just sending a screenshot. Let's have a look at something else you can do, which is even more exciting. This is where B1G1 connects you. And so have a look at how you can automatically do what we call a gratitude certificate. There you go. You see it on your screen right now. Yippee, it says. So imagine this being opened or being, imagine one of your products being shipped, and then the package gets opened by the person, hopefully you ordered it. And let's just blow this up so that we can see what it says. Specifically, we want to thank you for being a client. One of the things we do here is to make sure something great happens. So with that in mind, we thought you'd love to know that we just shipped your promo product goodies. And we've celebrated that by rescuing 18 meals and given them to the homeless. Well, you haven't rescued them. I mean, that's the B1G1 worthy cause that's done that. So they don't go hungry. We're thrilled to be serving you. It's a pretty powerful message, isn't it? And then down the bottom, our simple goal here is to keep on making great things happen in our world together. And what you might be feeling right now is how you'd feel if someone opened your package and they saw that. I mean, it's really this whole thing about engagement and connection. And so what we can do is look at that a little bit more, as you'll see. Let's just do that, or get ready to do that in just a minute, because the stories that you're seeing here, the giving stories and so on, are of course very powerful. And you can also see how they engage your team internally, and I want to enlarge on that in just a minute. And you've also seen a small part of how you can use that to engage your customers as well. And you do that just through one click, believe it or not. So with that in mind, let's go visit a website of a B1G1 customer. This doesn't happen to be someone in APPA. It's actually someone in the United Kingdom who I was talking with earlier yesterday. And I loved something that they'd done on their site. And I think you will as well. So let's go have a look at this. I think you'll enjoy it immensely.
So when it comes to connection, let's have a look at how some companies do it. Here's a tiny company in the United Kingdom. They're called, as you can see, U-Heat, and this is their impact page. They're proudly talking about the fact that they are a B1G1 business for good. And all of the things you see here, for example, this thing here, their giving goal, that's simply copied from and pasted from the B1G1 site, and they create that goal themselves. Remember we talked about creating giving stories. Well, here you'll see their giving stories with just one click pasted on the website, and then once they're there, visitors can simply track over each of the giving stories, and you can see exactly the impacts that have been happening. Pretty cool, isn't it? And then talking of impacts, have a look at this. Here's their impact on the global goals right around the world.
So pretty powerful stuff, but wouldn't it be interesting to see how an APPA or APPA member handles that? So let's go have a look at a website. I think you'll recognize this website. Take a look.
So not just an APPA member, but Ash at Over the Top Promotions. And here is, and thank you, by the way, for organizing today as well, Ash. So here's Ash's website. Let me get myself out of the way of that so we can see more on it. There we go. So you can see very nice front page, get in front, stay in front, and then she talks about amplifying the impact that people have on their clients' lives while simultaneously giving back to impact our world in the most positive of ways. Now, where are we going to go to find that? Well, we need to go up onto this little part of the site right here where it says About Us. Now, normally people would actually have a separate tab which is called Impact, but Ash has got it here under Giving Back. So we flip into Giving Back and let's take a look at what we see. Now we see something very interesting. You'll notice how Ash is focusing on the local giving and then the global giving. She calls it internationally. We would prefer to call it global, but that's okay. But you see all of a sudden you suddenly start to realize that local and global is really, really powerful. And then you see right in here the global goals that just happen automatically because of the great giving that Ash and her team are doing. And then we get this little thing here called the B1G1 widget. This again is tracking Ash's giving in a really interesting way and in real time. You can change the colors, do all sorts of things with that. And then down here you see the map. Now what we're going to do is just drag this map over here just so that we can see things a little better. And all I've got to do is kind of move my mouse over the dots. So let me do that right now. So here we go, 1,200 days of early childhood education over there, 210 days of education again right here. And you notice how the giving is reported. It's all about impacts, not about the money that you're spending. And that's, when you think about it, that's exactly the way that it should be happening. Some grain seeds down here, solar power, fantastic, over here. Again, life education over here, lots and lots, trees over there, income generating tool, oh, that one's a really good one. And then there's some projects here in Cambodia and I think Vietnam, all great projects. But then again, all of the B1G1 projects are great projects. And Ash, that is a great way of letting us see what's possible. And we're going to delve into how you make that happen right now. So stay tuned.
Here's where all the projects are right here. Let's suppose, for example, I wanted to sort by education as a for example, and I wanted to sort by lowest cost projects first. Then you can see all of the projects coming up right here. And as you know already, there's some 500 fully vetted projects right there, which I can sort by keyword and so on. And then if I go right down here, I can go to the little share button where I have all sorts of ways of doing some fabulous things, like, for example, those little widgets that you saw before. And that's so simple. For example, if I wanted to copy the widgets, there you go. It's very simple. There's my B1G1 widget. I can just go embed like that and copy and then paste that into the web page, and it's gone. It's there forever. Same thing with the map right there, and so on. So very powerful stuff right here in your B1G1 dashboard. And of course, you haven't seen anything yet. The real fun is when you start to actually do it yourself. And we'll talk about how you do that in just a moment.
And that is so true. The real fun starts when you use it yourself. So what we've already done though, and we're going to get to that in just a minute, is we've spoken about you creating this powerful new brand story that you can see right up there at a time when we really need to do it. We've talked about purpose and impact, engagement and connection, and how that all leads to profit and growth. And importantly, through B1G1, we've seen how we can link all of that to making a real difference in our world. So let's see how we can take that even further. And to do that, you may remember someone I mentioned earlier on with that wonderful quote about making a difference to the world. It's this guy, Paul Polman. Paul Polman was the CEO of Unilever and is now the CEO of Imagine, or the founder of a company called Imagine that works in great detail on all of this purpose stuff. Interestingly enough, we met Paul, I think, in 2017, and he was kind enough to write, as you can see on the top of that thing there, a foreword for one of the latest B1G1 books called Legacy. But he's turned his attention now to writing his own book, and this is the one. It's called Net Positive, written with Andrew Winston out of Harvard. And there's some great stuff in that. By the way, you can't get that yet. It comes out in October. But one of the quotes from that, or one of the lines in that, is this: a great company, a great company, is one that improves well-being for everyone. It impacts and at all scales. Every product, every operation, every region, every region, every country, and for every stakeholder, including employees, suppliers, communities, customers, and even future generations, and the planet itself. Pretty powerful stuff right there, isn't it? And the essence of what we've been talking about in terms of creating this new story together. And if you remember where we started, in fact, let's just go back to where we started. So we talked about your current story, the history, or where that's been, and we talked about the purpose of today as being to co-create your future story. And so the interesting question at this point, when we've gone through all of this, courtesy of APPA, thanks so much, Ida, for organizing it, is really this question: would you like us to co-create your future story with you now? Now, if you would, there's a couple of things. If you were joining us live, you could have gone up on the chat and you'd say, I'd love to. Or you could say yes, or you could say why. But since this is a recording, then let's make that easy for you as well. If you want to check this out in any way, shape, or form, just put your camera right there, and then it will, off you will go with the QR code. Or alternatively, if you prefer to use quote-unquote old-fashioned stuff, just b1g1.com/join. Now, when you get there, then you'll see some rather interesting things. Let me just take you through. By the way, before I take you through what you'll see, just a couple of interesting things. This is B1G1. This is the 3,000 plus, and hopefully you're going to become an extra one of them, of businesses who are proudly using the B1G1 banners, the labeling, and all of that kind of stuff. Business as a force for good. And down the bottom there you see the 250 million impacts that this group of really interesting businesses have already created. And you can see the B1G1 itself, top right, is what is called a certified B Corporation, which kind of is an international standard for doing good. Well, it's not kind of, it is an international standard for doing good in the world. So and so hopefully that makes you feel even better about B1G1. So when you go to the website right there, b1g1.com, and you click the Join Us button, or alternatively, if you've just gone to that join thing or the QR code, then you'll be sitting right here, right now. And yeah, it is really a matter of being a part of something bigger. That's what this is all about. And then you'll see there the membership options, and there are some options. And those options depend upon your size. Fortunately, in B1G1, we have large businesses who are very happy to invest a lot in the benefits that B1G1 brings to them. But at the other end of the scale, we have startups, literally startups, who might be investing around $500 to be a part of B1G1, just a little bit over $1 a day. Now, where you are depends on how you answer this particular thing here. You see where it says your company size. All you do is select your annual revenue range. You'll also see that actually joining us now, well, you can see what it says. If you're not delighted, then let us know and we'll immediately refund your membership fee. So there's no risk to you. We're taking all of the risk. But when you click on that button of joining and you choose, let's say this one, that's the one about $1,000 a year in Australian numbers. And then before you start to fill it out, or as you fill it out, we'd love you to put in that code right there. There you go, the BM 11020. That happens to be the referral code of Ash. Now, there's no money that changes hands, there's no affiliate fees or whatever. It's just a lovely little acknowledgement to Ash that you joined on account of how she recommended you watch this right here. So again, Ash, thank you for your involvement in that. We deeply appreciate it. So all you would do is click on that and then put your credit card in and away you go. And then that's when, as I think I said earlier on, that's when the love really starts, when you become a part of this incredible movement and become a business for good with all of the things that we've been talking about today in terms of the impact on your story. It becomes a story of you as a business for good, attracting team members and also attracting customers as well, and connecting to them in really interesting ways and doing a massive amount of good in the world at the same time. I mentioned earlier on the 250 million smiles. That's how we think of the impacts that our members are creating around the world. And of course, what we would love you to do is to join them so that we can add some more smiles together. Ida, thank you so much for letting me be here with you and hopefully adding some smiles to the faces of the people that joined us today. Wherever you are when you joined us, I hope this has been a valuable session for you and that you've gotten great things from it. And I really am looking forward, together with the B1G1 team, of welcoming you on this incredible journey and to serving you brilliantly as we share it together. Thanks so much. Bye.